Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Live It Up, the show where we explore and discuss how to take your life to that next level and beyond. We cover health, wealth, relationships, and how to create a life that feels good. Because after all, that's what we want. We want to feel good. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson, and today I'm delighted to have back on set someone who is a source of kindness, contribution, and inspiration, and also happens to be the love of my life, my wife, Amy Ellingson. We'll be talking about some wins and what's going well in the world, and she's going to share about expanding her expertise and services regarding menopause and helping women navigate that time of life with greater certainty. But before we get to that, I want to remind you that if you have questions you would like me to answer on or off of the air, you can email those directly to me at fletcher@fletcherellingson.com. And if you've been following this show and you want to learn more about personal development and how to take on your life more powerfully, then I encourage you to order a copy of my book, The Practice of Feeling Good. You can also visit me at my website, fletcherellingson.com. One more thing before we get to the interview today. I want to acknowledge that there is a lot of uncertainty and upset in our country and our own community right now. So I want to share a thought with you, and in case it's helpful and allows you to navigate these times with a bit more ease. And the thought is this: resistance always precedes suffering. I'll say that again: resistance always precedes suffering. And what's at the core of resistance? It's a story. And it's a story that sounds like this: life shouldn't be this way. They shouldn't say that, or they shouldn't act like that. This shouldn't be happening. But I want to encourage you to consider that suffering isn't in the situation, it's in our resistance to the situation. So what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is creating a personal story that says, I can handle life as it's unfolding. That's part of the practice of feeling good. Now, that doesn't mean I just stick my head in the sand. We still have businesses to run. We have families to raise. We still vote and strive for the changes we want to see and the outcomes we want to produce. But life is going to unfold the way it's going to unfold, with all the good, all the bad, all of the ugly. There are, right now on this planet, over 8 billion people. And we're all attempting to live together. If I, Fletcher Ellingson, expect the other 8 billion people on the planet to all act in accordance with my personal preferences, the chances are pretty high that I'm going to have a lot of unmet expectations and upset. In fact, it becomes a bit comical when I think of it. So the story that's helpful to me, and I invite you to think about, is I can handle life however it unfolds, even when it's not what I prefer. And I'm not saying that we have to agree or like it, but we can remind ourselves that we are resourceful, capable, and flexible. And reminding ourselves of that puts us in a state of mind where we're more likely to effort towards more desirable outcomes. I'm not saying this is going to fix whatever challenge is before us, but it's the starting point of learning how to diminish suffering. It's the starting point of learning to navigate life with a greater sense of empowerment. And it's a critical part of the practice of feeling good. And I know that you can do it. All right, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we're going to be right back, though, to visit with Amy Ellingson, so stay with us. Hey everybody, welcome back to Live It Up. So glad you're here, so glad you're in this conversation. Today on the show, we are visiting with none other than Amy Ellingson.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome back.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It has been a while. It's been several years, we just were saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not sure exactly how many, but it's been a while.
It has been a while. Yeah. And you've been doing lots of stuff. We're going to catch up on that. But first, we got to start out with the wins.
Okay.
So what's going well in your life, personally and or professionally?
Well, I'm really happy it's the first day of spring.
Yeah.
Because that feels really good. And looking out our window and seeing that the hills in Chelan, just getting that like tiny bit of green, just feels really good.
It does.
I like that a lot. We have our last child at home in her senior year, and that's fun to think about graduation and think about just the change in our lives, and with all of our kids being launched here really soon. I'm enjoying our granddaughter, which is very fun, and I love that she lives in Wenatchee, so we get to see her often. I'm enjoying my, it's been about a year and a half doing, strength training on my own at home, and doing, special, or not special, but, the kind of exercise that is helpful for postmenopausal women, which I am. And that's been really fun to feel, notice the difference in muscle and strength.
Yeah, and you've been really consistent.
Yeah. So
what do you think the key is to being consistent?
Oh gosh, well, you probably have a formula for that in your coaching. I tend to be someone that once I say I'm going to do something, I just do it.
Yeah, you're practiced at keeping your word.
Yeah, so, but also I was starting to feel weaker and starting just to feel like I wasn't able to lift things as well and go upstairs as well and that kind of thing. So I think when I think about the how I wasn't feeling good, it inspires me to keep going, because I don't want to go back to that. And at my age, for women my age, if you don't do that input of strength training, you're just going to get weaker and have less muscle mass. So that just kind of keeps me motivated. Also, I feel like on the days that I exercise, even I get up early, exercise, and go to work, I feel like I have more energy.
You definitely have more energy.
Yeah. So
because sometimes you'll go downstairs kind of dragging or sleepy still, and then you come back up and you're energized.
Right. So those are just the things that there's definitely times where I don't want to exercise, but I do it anyway most of the time.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. So what about for you? Tell us about some wins.
Yeah, so some wins for
Besides
me.
having me here today.
Yes, that is a win, because I've been wanting you to come back.
It's true.
Fun to do it together.
You do.
So a big win would be, I agree, our granddaughter, Sunny. I call her Sunny. Her name's Skylar. But we love to spend time with Sunny, and she is a real joy, and I just love being a grandpa. And I also would echo the exercise thing, or the weightlifting thing. I've been really consistent in the gym for, I think it's been about almost 2 years. And that's a big deal for me, because I had never been a person who goes to the gym. Right? I didn't like working out, other than if it was outside recreation. I loved that. But going to the gym and lifting weights never appealed to me, but I'm actually at the point now where it's enjoyable, and I'm seeing some changes as well, and that feels good, because I also am in my mid-50s, and I want to keep that strength. I want to maintain a high level of strength, because that's important.
Yeah.
What else? I had spring as well. I love spring. It's like this marks a turning point in the year. And we're already seeing flowers pop up. The days are longer, and it just feels good.
Yeah.
Lots of fun things that are going on, and the reason we always start off with wins is it's important, because what you focus on, you feel, and especially in times like these where there's a lot of uncertainty and distress and upset, we can focus on the things that feel good, and they're all around us.
Yeah.
We just need to look for them.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, hey, since you were here last, you've been doing a lot of additional learning and studying in your area of expertise, and expanding your expertise and services around menopause. And so I wanted to just take some time today and tell us a little bit about how that's been going for you.
Yeah, well, I really love it. I love taking care of women. I've always loved taking care of women. When I used to deliver babies, even though the actual birthing made me feel a bit anxious, because it was usually went well, but when it didn't go well, it was scary. But I love that sense of connection of women taking care of women. Not that men can't do a beautiful job taking care of women as a physician as well. But so it's been kind of something I've always loved, and I think it's been about 11 years ago now, I got some extra training in menopause and hormone therapy, and at that time not a lot of women were using hormone therapy for post-menopause. And so just a bit of history, which people may or may not know, right? In 2002, the big WHI trial came out, and at that point, about 40% of eligible women were on hormone therapy. It was quite popular. And at that time, it was either Premarin or Prempro, the Premarin and medroxyprogesterone, so one of those two medications. And that study came out that showed that especially the Prempro arm had an increased risk of breast cancer. And so like it just came to just a screeching halt. And so women were not on hormones for quite a while. And so starting in, I think 2014, when I got some extra training, I started doing hormone therapy and just saw some really amazing results for people in their clarity, mental clarity, energy, ability to exercise, ability to stay engaged. And then, as you are aware, just because you're in the world, there's so much talk about menopause now. And that started, I don't know how long that's been, in the last 3 years or 4 years, where it's just become much more mainstream. And not only for post-menopause, which is like after your last period of your life, there's also a lot of talk about perimenopause. When I was perimenopausal, which was like 5 years ago now-ish, no one was even really barely talking about it. And so it's been really fun for me to now there's like a tribe of providers doing the same thing. It's a little different, and I love having, because I felt like I was a little bit going rogue in a way when there weren't a lot of other people doing it, but now there are, and that's been really nice too.
Yeah. What do you think? Why was there kind of a lull in the study of this and bringing it to the forefront of women's health?
Well, I think that when that trial came out, everyone was just scared. And I think it was also a sense of like, oh my gosh, we've been doing this thing that we thought was helpful, and we now see that it was maybe killing people or, hurting them. And then in science and medicine, things take years to then you have a new study, and then you have new results, you have stuff happen in different countries, and then other countries want to validate it. So all of it is around data, and it's around studies, and studies take years. The other thing that people may or may not know is when you go to do a scientific study, if you do a pharmaceutical study, it's very, very, very expensive. That's why it's funded by the actual pharmaceutical company usually. And any medication that is identical to what our body makes, you cannot patent. So like the estradiol pill and the progesterone pill, which are identical to our body's hormones, they can't be patented. So therefore a drug company can't sponsor it, you know what I mean? So then other countries have generated a lot of data using those hormones, which is what everyone is using now. They're not using Premarin or Prempro. And
since it can't be patented and therefore necessarily sponsored by a drug company, like you don't have the big money to help with the study.
Exactly.
And so that adds to the kind of a longer period to bring it to market.
Because our country, we don't have a universal healthcare training system. We don't, everything is very individual depending on which med school you went to, which state you're living in, which medicines get covered, which like medical corporation you're part of. So in our country, when something changes, it takes a very long time for that to kind of like trickle down. And so if you think about that study came out in 2002, and it just started being accepted again, where they kind of took away the warning of like you should only be on it for a short period of time. That maybe happened, I don't know, within the last 8 years, maybe 5 years even. So then all of those people that were trained in that period of time didn't get the training. And then you're out of training, you're in your practice, you're busy. How do you get all those updates? So it's a difficult thing. I still have patients run into being told they should come off of it after 3 or 4 years. Like, it's just that the current practice has still not been circulated all the way out with the providers.
Very interesting. Thanks for that. We are going to take a quick break, but come back because we're going to talk more about menopause, osteoporosis, and hear more from Amy. Hey everybody, welcome back to Live It Up. So glad you're here. We're talking with Amy Ellingson today. She's bringing us up to speed on what she's been doing these past few years, and we're talking about menopause, and let's get back to it.
Okay.
First off, we should let people know where you're working and that you're also have joined a company in Seattle called Seattle Menopause, where you're helping other women. So tell us a little bit about how people can reach you and where you're working.
Yeah, well, and also, I guess I forgot to say, so last fall I launched a website that I've been working on for a while called Your Menopause Plan, yourmenopauseplan.com. It's free, and there's all kinds of resources on there. The intention was that you could actually create your own plan and take it to your provider and ask them to, put you on these medications if they think it's appropriate.
And I just going to interrupt because there is a ton of information.
There's a lot of information.
So if you have questions,
you
great
guys were all
place to go.
making fun of me at how much information's on there, but and then so I'm up at Three Rivers Family Medicine in Brewster, and actually I've seen quite a few people from Wenatchee for perimenopause and menopause, and I'm happy. I love seeing people where I can just do like a consult, get you on something, and then you can go back to your primary care provider. So and then Seattle Menopause has been really fun. I started doing that in the fall. We're mostly on Fridays. I've been doing telehealth for women in the Seattle area. That's a cash pay practice. It's with Dr. Amy Bush, and she's been doing menopause for a couple years now. That's all she does. So that's really great. And again, I have kind of like a menopause buddy, and we can talk about difficult cases together. And that's Seattle Menopause Medicine, and that you can go to that website as well.
I want to set you up for a question and maybe offer some hope to women. Like, for the majority of women, female clients you see that are experiencing menopause, and after they see you and get treated on a treatment plan, what would you say, like, is it a dramatic increase in how they feel, like, as far as, like, feeling good or feeling, yeah.
Well, I know that you're asking me this because you've seen me, like, come off of calls and just be like, oh my gosh, like, I saw this busy doctor from Seattle, and she was crying the first time I met her. She has young kids, and the thing is, the women that are going through this are in their, oftentimes, mid 40s to mid 50s, and at that point in our lives, we have a lot of professional responsibilities, a lot of family responsibilities, financial responsibilities. It's not a time that you can just kind of take a break because you can't think as clearly, or because you're not sleeping well, or because your mood is up and down. You have to be on point. And so it's a lot of pressure, and then plus you just feel like you're kind of losing yourself and going a bit crazy. And so I would say almost all the time, women feel amazingly or incredibly better, and they feel good, and they can actually feel, it's not exactly like you felt like when you were 35, of course, but it's a new level of feeling good. So I would say most of the time they feel much better.
So tell me a little bit about osteoporosis. I know you were studying that recently as it relates to menopause, and for those out there like myself who don't even really know what osteoporosis is, can you give us, what's the definition of that?
Yeah, well, osteoporosis itself is defined where you have a bone density score of more negative than minus 2.5 on a T-score, which just means that you have an elevated risk of fracture. Osteoporosis doesn't hurt. A lot of people think it does. Patients will think that it's not the same as osteoarthritis, it's osteoporosis. And in your bones, or in our bodies, we have two cells that manage our bone architecture. Osteoclasts break down the bone, osteoblasts build up the bone, and it's a constant breakdown and build up that maintains normal architecture. And as we get older, that bone density declines. But what's new-ish data in the last several years that's come out is that we're finding out that maybe up to like half of that decline in women actually happens during the menopause transition, which is new information, where it's like we're talking about the first 2 years before your last period, and then those 3-ish years after your period. So maybe like a 5-year period of time, maybe less. And we're talking about women in their maybe late 40s to early 50s, where you lose up to half of the loss that you're going to have happens then. So the reason I feel like that's important, and it's a change in practice for me, like a long time ago, 10-ish years ago or whatever, anyway, it's like we got a bone density scan at menopause, like around 50. just to see, gosh, are you at risk, whatever. And then the Preventive Services Task Force and different people were like, no, that doesn't seem to make a difference in outcomes, so let's wait, and let's not get the bone densities now until someone's 65, unless they have risk factors. And the only problem with that, that's what we've all been doing now, or most of us, is that then you're waiting until someone maybe has osteoporosis or what's called osteopenia, which is kind of the level before osteoporosis. And the treatments we have, it's not like they're great. They don't just they don't just get you back to normal bone density. There's nothing that can really do that because of, at least that we have right now. So really the opportunity is to get your bone density scan earlier. And this is what I'm encouraging patients to do, of my own and anyone else. I know that your provider may not be familiar with why, but the purpose is to see if you're at risk. Because if you're a little bit low right at menopause, you have a couple years of pretty brisk bone loss that you could then do something to intervene.
Got it. So
I know that was a lot of information.
Yeah, but what I heard you saying is you want to get that, if you're a woman, you want to get that checked earlier, or way sooner than later.
Yeah, so I would encourage, I know I'm going against what the Preventive Task Force says in our country, to wait until you're 65, but I don't think there's really a downside just to check a DEXA when you're younger and see if you're at risk, because if you already have like negative T-score, then you're at risk of having progression of that, and it'd be good to intervene now with lifestyle changes that you can make, potentially with medications as well.
Got it. And with proper treatment, can you prevent the bone density loss?
Yeah, you can. I mean, menopausal hormone therapy is a way to prevent bone loss if it's appropriate for you, and you might be on a slightly higher dose than maybe someone else if you did have low bone density. There also are some osteoporosis medications, like if it's not appropriate for you to be on hormones, you can be on something else. There's also changes you can make as far as if you smoke or if you drink alcohol on a regular basis to not do that. And then also resistance training. There's some new data on something called jump training. There's actually a new app that I've just heard about that I haven't really checked out. But there's ways to support your body so your bones will can kind of have that stress and then build themselves.
Okay, real quick on that, resistance training and weightlifting. Does that help with building up your bones, or is it only building up the muscles and the tissues that help support the bones?
No, it helps build up the bones as well. So okay. the larger your muscle mass, there's more kind of like forces being applied to your bones. And when you're lifting weights, these strong forces are being applied to your bones, and then that's how the bones respond by becoming stronger.
Got it.
That's why some people will use weighted vests when they walk to kind of, so even like women who are heavier tend to have higher bone density because their bones are experiencing a higher load, and so they're therefore stronger. So some of the women that are highest risk are the really thin women, really small boned and thin women. They tend to be at the highest risk of osteoporosis.
Okay, good information. Hey, it's time to go.
It's time, okay.
So it's time for you now to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You do have something to offer, and I believe in you.